Good morning, good morning, good morning. And welcome back to the Operation Hill 100 Hearts channel where we do what? Focus on healing, humor, and hot motherfucking topics. Ladies and gentlemen, please hit the thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up while you're waiting for me to read this good old dear teacher letter. Hit the thumbs up on this video if you're new to my channel. Hey, make sure you hit the subscribe button. All of my fellow subbies, I'm happy to see you here. I know that you miss me. Let's get into this dear DJ because I know y'all nosy like me. Anywho, dear Deja, I know you said time and time again you don't do family counseling, but that seems to be where you give some of your best advice, which is why I'm reaching out to you. Okay, girl. I have a 35-year-old son who has made a miraculous turnaround with his life, which I'm incredibly happy and excited about. When he was younger, he used to fight all the time with anybody. This violent behavior started when he was about 14 years old and continued all the way into adulthood. His father was murdered when I was 7 months pregnant, so I assumed this behavior that he started displaying as a young man could be associated with him not having his biological dad in his life. He's been to therapy, he's been arrested, and nothing seemed to get to him back then. He has uncles, cousins, and his grandfathers in his life, but not his actual biological dad. I have a lot of family support, so my son has a village, but for whatever reason, when he was younger, he faced many struggles. But since his miraculous turnaround, we've been having some deep talks about life and who he used to be. About a month ago, my son asked if I knew why he and my sister, his aunt, for whatever reason, have such a tumultuous relationship. Sidebar, my little sister is my mother's change of life baby, which means she had my sister later in life. Hell, my son is 3 years older than her. Because they were close in age, we always had them play together. My son said that when he was 14 years old, and my little sister, his aunt, was 11, she introduced sex to their relationship by giving my son head. According to my son, it was his first sexual experience, and she was his only sexual partner for another 2.5 years when he asked her to be in a relationship with him. And not only did she say that was impossible, but they also stopped sleeping together, and that infuriated him, which is where his anger towards her and the world came from. Deja, I am blown away. I don't know where to begin. Do I bring this up to the family, to my little sister only? Do I leave it alone since my son says now that he has healed from this experience? Does my sister need healing? My son was the older one. Does that make him the predator? Can that relationship be repaired? Will my family understand? It's so much to unpack, and I need you to help me figure out where to begin. Please, please, please help. Sign, should I ask or leave it in the past? Okay. Okay. I want to start off by saying, right? Some situations may not be in my wheelhouse to assist with healing in, but I'll do my best. I will also link below medical professionals, therapists, and things of that nature, because once again, some things may be outside of my jurisdiction, and I do not want to jeopardize anybody's journey by not being able to provide the correct feedback. So what I'm doing right now is just giving out some advice from a letter that was written. But if any further counseling or therapy is needed, I will link below in the description box some a therapist and some medical professionals that can assist moving forward. Let me say that first, okay? Second of all, let me sip my water. Hold on. Wow. So I can honestly appreciate how far you and your son's relationship have come, right? Because like you said, it started off really rough for him, which I'm pretty sure in turn made it really rough for you. And that's never easy. That's never easy when you're trying to raise your children and, make things flow in the right direction and be the best mom you could be, especially when you're doing it alone. When the bumps in the road come, they can sometimes feel like hurdles that are so big you'll never overcome them. So to know that your son is in a better headspace and has improved so much makes me so happy for him and for you. Right? That's a beautiful thing. Let's start there with the positives. Mom, I want to say something, and this is why I said I would link medical professionals down below, because I honestly don't know. I don't feel the confidence to say what I'm about to say is 100% right, but I do kind of feel like it makes sense to say it. And it's one of the most important lessons that I've learned in my adult journey, right? Which is, it's not your story to tell. And I know that sounds absolutely nuts. That sounds absolutely nuts because number one on the list is your kid. I don't give a fuck how old he is, it's your kid. Number two on the list, it happened when he was a kid, right? Number three on the list is someone you know and you care about and you trusted, right? Um, and number four on the list, it I know that you may feel is something that needs to be addressed. Now, the reason why I said it's not your story to tell, because technically it's not, right? Technically it's not. And also because bringing up everything that has been shared with you doesn't only affect you. And while I understand you are going through a ball of emotions right now, and while this may sound absolutely crazy to you, like you said, you are blown away, there is other parties involved. And when you bring this to the forefront, you have to factor in if you're prepared for how the other parties involved are going to be affected. Right? So let's run it from the top. Your son confided in you. That's what he did. He confided in you. He trusts you, so he confided in you. He confided in you with something that is so deep, that it surpasses reality at this point. That was deep. That was deep what he shared with you. But I think from what it sounds like, because again, I'm only getting this little snippet, it sounds like that he's so far into his healing journey that he is moving past that. And one of the ways that would assist him in moving past it was sharing it with somebody he loves and he trusts, which is you. Right? So I think that's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. But once again, it's not your story to tell. And if he has come to you to share with you in hopes that it will strengthen your relationship with him and vice versa, and just so you're aware and so on and so forth, I wonder what it would do to the relationship if you took what he confided in you with and shared it with other people. Now, let me say this. Do I understand why you would want to and need to? 110 million percent. So I don't want you to think that I don't truly, truly understand and that I can't identify with you feeling like, excuse me, no, this happened to my fucking kid and I want it addressed. I want it addressed. What the hell is that, right? So I get that part of it. My only thing is, once again, yes, if your son wanted this to be shared and he wanted someone to be addressed, I think he would have said that to you so you wouldn't be confused about what direction to go in. Or I think he would have did it himself. Right? And I feel like that he doesn't want this to go beyond you and him. I think that's what you want. So I think that is why you're writing the letter, because you kind of sort of want me to push you in the direction of that's what you should do. And while I can't tell you what you should or shouldn't do, I'll just give you the pros and cons of what would happen if you did or didn't, right? And one of the things that I feel like I need to say is that it's not your story to tell, right? It's your son's situation. He confided in you. you know, because he trusts you and he loves you, and I can imagine that he wants your relationship to grow. So he wanted to let you know one of his secrets. And if you can't tell your secrets to your parents, then who can you tell them to? Right? So let me say that, right? Part two, right, is your sister. In all fairness, like you said, she was the younger child in this situation. A. B. She probably has her own version of the way that whole thing went down, right? So there's his version, there's her version, there's the truth. So we're caught all up in the middle of that, right? And my only other concern is that if you bring this up with his version and then she unveils her version, which differentiates from his version, then what's going to happen there? Right? So the question was, his version was she was the younger child in this situation, but she is who introduced the sex to the relationship, right? And it went on for 2 years, right? What if her version is he introduced the sex into the relationship? He also forced me. He's older than me. And I felt intimidated, so I continued to do so for 2 years. Are you prepared to hear that about your son? Whether it's true or not, are you prepared for somebody to even accuse him of that? Also, let's just say that is the accusation, God forbid, right? What now? Because now we're dealing with, if what she's saying is the truth, if her version is the truth, not only were you in the wrong, but you also lied. So in rebuilding our relationship, we have come 20 steps forward to go 30 steps back, because not only am I looking at you crazy because you are the one who initiated this whole situation, but on top of that, you lied. I thought we were rebuilding. I thought we were fixing. I thought we were growing. How did we get here? Right? So those are the two parties whose story it is to tell, right? Let's just factor in everybody else. Let's factor in that huge support system that you said your son has. I'm pretty sure if he has it, your sister has it. So let's factor in all of those family members, right? And them now hearing that an 11-year-old and a 14-year-old had a sexual interaction and they are family. Who wasn't protecting who? Who forced what on who? You know, who's in the wrong here? Who's the victim? You know, so now folks are getting in their corners taking sides because your big old 14-year-old son was over here doing X, Y, and Z to my 11-year-old, yada, yada, yada. Or your fast tail ass 11-year-old, yada, 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 was over here seducing my 14-year-old. Like, it brings a lot of other people into the mix and the fold. Because what really happened and where was everybody? Then that blame game comes up, which is, where was your mother? Where were you? And what the hell was going on that nobody recognized this was taking place for 2 whole years between these two people? So, we are dealing with a monstrous situation if you want to bring this to the forefront. Now, can I say you should or shouldn't? I would never say those things. What I can say is, what are you prepared for if and when you do? And if we were in an Operation Heal 100 Heart session, that is pretty much what I would be giving you: a piece of paper and a pen and asking you to write out And then I would be sharing some scenarios with you and asking you to put this all down on paper because I would need you to physically see what you might or might not be walking into. Right? So here we go with the pros, here we go with the cons. Run it. And if you telling me that even though let's say the pros outweigh the cons, I'm willing to go forward, then go ahead. If you're saying that even though the cons outweigh the pros, I'm still willing to take it full throttle, go ahead. I'm not here to stop you from whatever choice you're going to make. I just want you to be prepared for whatever can come from your choices and your decisions. Because if not, then you'll be back for a lot more healing heart sessions. Because now you're dealing with a different monster. Also, this is the other scary piece, right? Let's just say you say, well, Khadijah, I'm not going to say anything. That was a long time ago. My son is healed and whole. Okay. What does that mean for you and your sister? Because I know. I can't unknow. I know now. Right? So what does that mean for you and your sister? Because if we were close, why didn't I know this? Right? If we've been around each other and we've hung out and we've done this all this time and you've been keeping this from me? Or the other part of it is now I'm looking at you with disdain and hurt and disappointment. You was fucking my son? You know what I'm saying? So what does that mean for the relationship between you and your sister if you do or don't decide to say something? Are you willing to forgive her? Are you willing to believe her at whatever version she has? And, more importantly, with all of this being in the forefront, like the questions you asked, will your family be able to move forward? Because you have to also ask, will this cause a divide? Am I prepared for division? So, once again, if we was in an Operation Heal 100 Heart session, I'd be like, listen, let's sit down, and let's write down your son name, and let's write down your sister name, right? And then you'll write down the facts about your son, you'll write the facts about your sister, and then we'll talk about what they're intertwined with and what that looks like. Right? Because once again, if one person's version of the story differentiates from the other, what are we believing here? Also, I have another question, because you said in the letter that your son was just basically saying, like, Ma, remember, I used to be so angry with her. We always had a tumultuous relationship, and yada, yada, yada. What is their relationship now since he's healing from this? Do they speak? Are they cool? Is there still romantic feelings there? These are all valid questions. These are all valid questions because, in all fairness, this is a very sticky situation. So these are all valid questions. The other part of it is the healing for your sister. Because remember, she was 11 years old. So let's just go with your son's version for a minute, right? Which is she introduced giving him head. She was 11. What did your sister know about that? So that would be another thing I would be wanting to, talk about in your Healing Heart session, which would be your family history. Because why would your sister, know about sex at 11 and to that degree, right? I know that you said your son has his grandfathers. So I'm guessing that your dad is around. Is that your sister's dad? And if so, where was mom and dad when your sister was being introduced to sex at 11 years old. If we're going with your son's version. And once again, to that degree, to want to, suck his dick like that, that's a tad bit extreme for a kid. Also, once again, going with your son's version because of your letter, does that sound believable to you? Because you know how certain things you would just look and be like, absolutely not. That's some bullshit. I can't see that. Right? So, does it sound believable what your son is telling you about your sister? Was she known to be promiscuous? Also, I know that you said that, you said your son said that he used to be very angry with her. Was she angry with him? Or was that just his issue? Because he also said that he asked her to be in a relationship. And she said, absolutely not. That's impossible. So if he was declining the relationship because clearly his feelings were strong enough to have them, is that where his anger came from? And if that's the case, did she have some anger as well? How did this end? Like, it's just so many unanswered questions that will come up if you expose this. And once again, I think that it would affect a number of people in this situation, especially and including you, and I don't know how much of a relationship you and your sister can have moving forward. But that would be something we would have to work out in the Healing Heart session. And I also think that your sister needs her own Healing Heart session because whether we know it or not, that's a lot of trauma to be exposed to a sexual relationship at 11 years old. And, that's being generous. Because if you were already sucking dick at 11, maybe you were introduced way before that by someone else. And that's something that we might need to explore if your son's version is what really happened. Maybe somebody else older had already introduced her to that, which is how she knew how to introduce it to your son. And that's another deeper conversation because that means that it's trauma long before she traumatized your son, according to your son. And taking your son out the equation, that's still your sister. So not only are you dealing with your son's trauma, you also will have to deal with your sister's trauma, which might be light years before your son. So this is really, really, really something. This is really, really something. And once again, like I said, I'm just giving advice and feedback from the letter. I don't know all of the details in its entirety, right? So I honestly can't be like, oh, well, you should or shouldn't do this. I could never say that. But in your Operation Heal 100 Heart session, we will have to sit down and go through the pros and the cons of whatever choices you decided to make. Because, once again, my dear, I have to preface it with, this is not your story to tell. This is your family. You know what I'm saying? I get it. But it still doesn't make it your story to tell. And because of that, you need to be very much prepared if you're going to share someone else's story. Even if that someone else is your son. So, all right, my dear. All right. How did we get here? Nobody's supposed to be here. This is a lot. Like I said, I would like to say, congratulations to your son on his healing journey. It is extremely important, for folks to heal in his lifetime because that is how you become a better person. For everybody involved in that situation, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It doesn't matter who initiated it. I'm so sorry that the both of them had to go through this. And I'm sorry this is happening with your family. Because this is not small. This is a big deal. I want to also say, I do feel some form of remorse towards you because it's a rock and a hard place. It's my child and my sibling. What am I supposed to do? right? So this is how we figure all this out. We figure all of this out by going through your Operation Heal 100 Heart sessions and determining your feelings regarding both these individuals, finding out the truth, and then seeing how you want to navigate and operate moving forward. Right? And once again, the only way that we're going to do so is if you come get your Operation Heal 100 Heart session, because I can't give you much from a snippet in a letter. Okay, but once again, my dear, I'm happy that you and your son have a better relationship. I'm happy that he's on his healing journey. I'm happy that he's able to confide in you, and hopefully, it will get better before it get worse. Right? You just got to be willing to do the work. In any event, I hope I was able to help. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your day. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your day. Thank you for tuning in. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you all soon. Mwah.